This show would be amazing because we are going to talk about something which is very interesting, something on what I truly believe because it happened to me. How can random situations, how can random happenings can lead you to success without that important thing that people like to say, "Yo, it's all planned. All my success, it was planned strategy." Well, so me and Mark Schaefer, which will join us in a moment, we'll talk about how these random events can bring you cumulative advantage. Stay tuned because we'll be back in a moment. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to another episode of the special marketing live show, a very special one. Well, I can say it, and I will start with a shout out to Pedro Caramies, which was the responsible of my coming to the live stream world, and this is a proof that these random events happened and that they will generate this cumulative advantage, which we're going to talk about in a moment with Mark Schaefer. By the way, just let me know where are you watching us, if it's on LinkedIn, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, I don't know, Twitch, and also let me know which location you are, okay? I will bring Mark in a moment. I'm just there. I'm just making you wait a little bit on the Facebook. Okay, so let me know where you are so we can keep the conversation flowing. Hello, hello, Pedro. Muito obrigado, meu caro. So let's bring Mark to talk about this thing. By the way, I put it on the description, the link for you to know more about the book, and I will share in a moment again on comments the link for you to know a little bit more about the book. Okay, so let's bring Mark to the conversation. Hello, hello. Ta-da!
I loved your countdown music, by the way. It sounded like Batman. I'm a big Batman fan, so it was getting me all energized. I was just expecting Batman to show up there. I was excited. Mark.
Okay, you have Duckman. It's almost the same.
No, it's not.
Let's pretend. So, Mark, first of all, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure. Who's gonna say to me about 1 year ago that I will have Mark Schaefer on my show? I will say, okay, stop smoking what you're smoking. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. If you don't mind I don't know. I think you don't need too much introduction, but if you can say a few words about your career, it will be okay, and then we can jump into the conversation.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm watching the comments here, and I'm just excited to see a lot of my friends showing up. It's exciting. I see Dion and Alberto and a few others. So and this is something. I mean, I'm always excited and amazed when people spend time with me and spend time listening to me. So I've been in marketing for a long time. Several decades, actually, and I am a marketing consultant. What I really love is strategy. It took me a long time, Marco, to figure out what I was good at. I wanted to be an astronaut, but that didn't work out. I didn't when I was a little boy. I didn't dream of being a digital marketing consultant someday. But sometimes, maybe in my 30s, I realized that I was really good at seeing how trends come together and sort of predicting where we need to be next. So that really helped me in marketing. I worked for a Fortune 100 company for many, many years. Started my own company about, I guess it's 12 or 13 years ago now. Marketing consultant. I teach at a big university near New York City called Rutgers University. Very, very fine business school. I do some teaching there. I also am a keynote speaker. I'm an author. The book that we're talking about today is my ninth book and my best book, by the way. And I've got a blog, I've got a podcast. So I do a lot. And I have fun every day.
Perfect. Let's start about the book, or about your book author career. Is this a cumulative advantage to write books?
Well, it can be. So let's talk about what that means, because it's a term. People don't sit at the dinner table and talk about cumulative advantage. They don't go to the pub and say, "Oh, how was your cumulative advantage today?" So this is sort of a mysterious term. And here's the thing that's so interesting is that this has been a term that's been researched for more than 50 years in the field of sociology. And it's very well known, but it really hasn't been applied to our lives. It hasn't been applied to our businesses. And even though it's famous, it's not famous to us because, let's face it, how many of us can name any famous sociology research? So I had to sort of geek out on sociology for a few months to really learn what this is about. So here's what it means. There's this phenomenon that happens. If you get an initial advantage in your life and play it right, you can build that advantage into a sizable gap between you and your competitors. For some people, it might be money. For some people, it could be education or important connections in your life. An example I use in my book is Bill Gates. How did Bill Gates become Bill Gates? As a teenager, he was the only teenager in the country that had early access to computer prototypes. He was coding before any of his peers, and that became an advantage. For me, when I was working at this Fortune 100, and I've had a lot of little advantages in my life, but for me, I was working at a big Fortune 100 company when the internet was beginning, and I went to my boss and I said, this whole World Wide Web thing, I think there's something we can do with business on this thing. I would like to get an AOL account and put it on my expense account. And after much debate, my boss agreed. He said, all right. I don't understand what all this stuff is. I don't even want to do email. But if you think there's something there, go ahead. It's $9 a month. You can do it. So I was the first person at this Fortune 100 company on the internet. Now, I was no Bill Gates, but when the company finally woke up and decided we need to create a global e-business department, they looked around and they said, well, who should run this? And I had more experience than anybody else. And I can literally point to that moment, Marco, and tell you that's why I'm speaking with you today, because I had that little early advantage. Now, here's one of the biggest lessons in the book, and I know you're very passionate about this too, that so many of our successes, almost all of our personal successes and business successes start with some random event. It's not a plan. It's not a strategy. I didn't have some grand vision that I was going to be a digital marketer and consultant and author. I didn't write my first book till I was 50 years old. So it all was building on something that happened in the 90s. And that's what cumulative advantage is about. Now, how do we learn from that? How do we harness this power, this energy to make it work for you, to make it work for our businesses? That's what this book is about.
And it is very important. We have here Dion. Hello, Dion. Good to have you here. She's saying, I study sociology at college, and the book Cumulative Advantage gave me a huge realization and insight into cumulative disadvantage.
Disadvantage. Yeah, absolutely. Because cumulative, what you learn in this book, and here's a promise that everyone who reads this book will see the world in a different way. And that's really what Dion is saying here, is that we have this realization that all of us are riding the crest of a wave that started a long time ago. We're here where we are today because of things that happened to us a long time ago. And some of us had an abundance of good luck and good fortune and good advantages. And some of us had maybe blue collar advantages. And some of us have disadvantage, and we're not riding a wave at all. We're being pulled under by the undertow. And we have to find a way to use the ideas in this book to stop that. That's cumulative disadvantage. We have to stop that. And we have to find ways to build momentum for people who are at some disadvantage in our society.
Absolutely. And somehow I'm one of these cases because I was not born in a big city, in a big country. I don't even speak English natively. And so, but that was not a problem for me because I think, and maybe you can share some insights about this. Don't you think, Mark, that it's very important to be curious, to have the possibility to felt in these random situations?
I think, in a way, Marco, that is really the differentiating factor. There's a great quote in my book from a fellow named Raji Thomas. He's a very successful entrepreneur. He's the founder of Sprinkler. So many of your listeners might have heard of Sprinkler before. They're a social monitoring platform that's used by many big companies. And here's what he said. Big ideas really don't make that much of a difference because there's millions of big ideas. Everybody can have big ideas, but it's really the pursuit of curiosity. It's the pursuit of curiosity. It's the quest. Now, if I was just curious about the internet, but I hadn't pursued that with my boss, if I hadn't found a way to apply this curiosity and solve problems that led to these promotions in my career, I wouldn't be successful. So you're right. It's the pursuit of curiosity that really makes all the difference in the world. I had this great opportunity to meet the great author Walter Isaacson. He wrote the book on Steve Jobs that was made into the movie. He's written books about Einstein and Leonardo da Vinci. And I asked him, what makes a genius? And he said two things. One, the ability to see patterns and recognize patterns in our world. And number two, this endless curiosity to figure out how you connect to those patterns. So basically I was saying that more or less the same thing in this book.
Absolutely. And there's a kind of a joke which you start almost the book, which is about Tim Ferriss meeting Oprah.
Yeah.
And I hope today Oprah is seeing us and he will invite you. But I think it's it's kind of an illustration about how important it is to meet the right people. No,
yes,
it's not.
Well, so the reason I chose Tim Ferriss as a case study is because this book is about momentum. How do you build momentum for your life? And if you've never heard of Tim Ferriss before, he is just a media superstar right now. And he's had multiple New York Times best-selling books. He's got one of the top podcasts. He is a huge, successful investor, and everything he touches seems to turn to gold. So I was curious. What I did, Marco, is I did a deep dive. I just found successful people like Bill Gates, and I wanted to find out what made them successful. How does it match with the ideas in this book? Well, when Tim Ferriss wrote his first book, he was 29 years old. And I'm not saying anything here that Tim hasn't said himself. He's very transparent about his life. When he was 29 years old, he basically had lost almost everything that was important in his life. He was burned out. He had lost his business. He had lost important relationships. He had a psychological breakdown. He had a physical breakdown. And his idea for a book was rejected 26 times. Now, so if I describe someone like that to you and said, 10 years later, he would know Oprah, you'd say, no way. There's just no way. So what happened? What happened? How did he create this momentum? So I sort of became an expert on Tim Ferriss to unravel what did he do. And the steps that he took matched up with the 5 steps in this book exactly. And there are these patterns that happen in people's lives that even if you're, like you say, a loser, and no one would ever think that you were going to be a success. Even when he wrote the book, the critics hated this book. He got terrible reviews, and yet it climbed to number 1. What in the world? Something crazy happened here. But it wasn't crazy. He was smart. He didn't know that there were these patterns, but instinctively he did these things, and it can work for anyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's say hello to Ilse. We are being watching in Venezuela. Hello, Carinder. Hello, everyone. Please let your questions here so Marco can answer you. Okay, I think it will be better if everybody engage with the conversation so you can get more insights from it. Mark, I have something to ask because there's something I used to think about, and I think it's a kind of opposite of this cumulative advantage. I'm thinking about the talent contests. You know, people go to the television, they sing, they dance, they do whatever. At the end of the show, some will win, and there's someone who also may be recognized and everything. But and here in Portugal, it's very usual. Most of those people doesn't succeed. Have you ever thought on this phenomenon?
About why people don't succeed?
Yes, because they get this momentum, if you know what I mean. This so huge spotlight, but then after this, most of them fail. Don't succeed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there could be a lot of different reasons. You know, it's funny because I hadn't really thought about it this way. Because in my book, I talk about here are 5 ways to help you build momentum. But if you think about it, each of these 5 opportunities are also a way to end momentum or terminate momentum. So, for example, if you have an initial advantage, maybe you're a good singer, but you don't do anything with it, then it's going to terminate. The next step is this idea of a seam. Is there an opportunity? Is the timing right? Is there some fracture in the status quo that can make you popular? All right. So let's say you're a singer, but you like to sing, old, like Gregorian chants, right? So you're really, really good. You're the best Gregorian chant singer, but there's no seam. Nobody cares. The timing is maybe 10 years from now, Gregorian chants will be popular, but not right now. So if your talent and your advantage doesn't match up with an opportunity, then that can fail as well. The next thing is you need to build momentum through awareness. So let's say you have an opportunity, you have a talent, you have an advantage, you have an opportunity with the scene, but nobody knows about it. That's another way to fail and step back. Now, maybe you've done all this work. Then the next thing, and this is the number one way, I think, to overcome cumulative disadvantage that Dion mentioned about, is to get help from another person. And it's sort of reimagining this idea of mentorship, where mentorship isn't necessarily somebody who's going to teach you. It's somebody who's going to open up new doors of opportunity for you. And, I look at my own life. This is something I could have done better. I'm sort of a self-reliant person. It's not easy for me to ask for help. And in fact, this is really sort of weird in a way, but I had these ideas about people who were sort of big in our business, who were kind of stars. I thought, you know what? I could reach up. I could ask them for help. I've got this new book coming out. Now, I bet they would help me do this. So I've got this list of people, and I'm just realizing right now, I never asked them. So there's a missed opportunity there. Maybe my book could be bigger than it was, but I stepped away because I didn't enact this opportunity that I know I have. Then the fifth step is you've got to continue to make good choices to keep that momentum going. So let's say you get famous for Gregorian chants. Let's just say it worked against all odds. Then you say, oh, I was so famous for Gregorian chants, I'm now going to go on Broadway. Well, that's probably a bad decision. Look what Tim Ferriss did. His first book, his popular hit that hit the New York Times, The 4-Hour Workweek. What was his next book? The 4-Hour Body. What was his next book? The 4-Hour Chef. He turned it into a franchise. He made good decisions to keep that momentum going. So every opportunity to create momentum is also an opportunity to move momentum away. If you would have asked me that question 6 months ago, I probably would have put that in the book because it's a good idea. Where were you, Marco? Where were you when I needed you? You could have been in my book.
Okay, next time.
It's time.
Perfect.
Interview me before I write the book.
Okay. We will talk about the process, but before, let's bring this comment of Albert. There are millions of big ideas, but it's the curiosity that really makes the difference and leads to solve problems. Mark Schaefer quotation. Very good. And we have here also Dion talking about Operation Opera.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just kind of used that as a funny little story throughout the book that, it was, I put together this funny little race between Tim Ferriss and I, because as I said, if you looked at Tim Ferriss when he was 29 and you looked at me when I was 29, and if you would have said, I'm going to place the bet, who's going to know Oprah? It would have been me.
Well,
I'm still waiting for the call. I'm still waiting for the call from Oprah.
We have here May King. Hello, May King. Good to see you here. There's something for me. I've seen you last Friday talking about the how you spend your time consuming content. How do you prepare a book like this? Because I think if we want to do things in the right way, we need to go deep into the things. And this, I think, it's a thing which needs investigation to look at the sources, watch how those lives were and how they are now. Can you explain the whole process of this book? I think it's very important to know how you made it.
Yeah. Well, I go through the same process for all of my books. And the most important thing is to have the big idea. And for me, it comes from curiosity to see what is the problem my customers are having, my friends are having, my students in my classes. What do I keep hearing? And the number one question on the mind of every marketer in every business today, it's this one question: how can we be heard? Excuse me. And we're following all the rules. We're creating content. We're live streaming, and we're doing everything we can. And here's the truth. This world is so busy, so noisy, so competitive. Even if we're great, we may not stand out. We may not be heard. So what can you do if even great is not enough? So that's really what I've been thinking a lot about and researching a lot about. And for me, part of the answer, at least, is momentum. We need to find a way. We can see how momentum works in other people. It sort of works the same way. There's been a lot of research about it. That's in my book. These aren't necessarily my ideas. I'm just weaving ideas together, research together that maybe you've never heard about, that you can use for your own person, your own business. So I just get obsessed with solving this problem. There's no other word about it, because to write a book, it takes so much time, so much sacrifice. It's 2 years of my life that I've really got to come up with the big question, the big idea, the big problem I'm going to solve. Then I sort of think about, what would those chapters be like? What do I need to learn about? What do I need to research and become an expert on? And I think about those subjects and those chapters that I might have in the book. I create an Evernote file for those chapters. And then for about a year, I just start doing research. And I put ideas and quotes and stories and research and podcast episodes into all these chapters. And when it's time to write the book, I open up these things and see what I've got. Does it still make sense? And then I had the added challenge this time of, I started writing this book in the summer of 2019, wrote a few chapters. Then what happens? Pandemic hits. World explodes with civil justice movements. And I had to reflect and pause and say, is this still a book? Is this still relevant in the way I thought it was going to be? I got some feedback from others, and they said yes. One person said, this is not only a book that we need right now, this is going to be your legacy, because this is the best book you've ever written. So that gave me the validation to keep on going. Because as you know, there's a lot of heart in this book, a lot of research in this book. And, I put everything I got into it. When I finished this book, I had nothing left. Psychologically, mentally, even physically, I was just sapped at the process of writing this book. It took me 3 months just to write the last chapter of the book. And if you've read chapter 10, you'll know why that was a really personal chapter and a really hard chapter to write.
Absolutely. And let me do the provocative question, because I think we can mix a little bit about also the Martin Rebellion book, because I want to talk about this also, because I think it's a book that people who are watching maybe will be interesting for them too, because
Sure.
I think it is, even though you're not a marketing professional, it's a very important book because it talks about important things. And you talk about the attention, and I think people are basing the pursuit of attention on algorithms, of facing how they work, how they can cheat them. What's the big mistake about this, Mark?
About what? Cheating
about
algorithms?
about just focusing the pursuit of attention
Oh,
on this kind of mechanic
well,
things.
yeah. I mean, the reason I got into marketing, and in my early days, what I learned marketing was about marketing is about psychology and sociology and anthropology. It's really about learning about people and motivating people and connecting to people in an important and emotional way. But when you talk to marketing people today, what do they tell you about? Their MarTech stack. They tell you about some new software that they're using. They talk about their click rate. And I'm not saying that all that isn't important, but I show some very important trends in the Marketing Rebellion book that would indicate that marketing has lost their way. Customers really don't like us anymore. They don't like what we're doing. We're disconnected from consumers, what they really want to accomplish, how they want to connect with us and our products. And the reason is because we've become obsessed with technology and algorithms and tricking people to click onto links. And we've lost our way. I think marketing, I don't think it's too bold or overstating it in any way to say that I think marketing is sick in many ways. That we forgot that marketing, psychology, sociology, anthropology, marketing is all things human. It's not all things tech. It's all things human. And we have to put technology in its place, to use technology like we're doing today, to remove barriers between people. What a joy it is to see your face and hear your voice. You are in Portugal. I'm in America, in a cold and rainy state of Tennessee. And yet we're having this lovely human connection. We're getting to know each other. We're using technology in an amazing way. And that's how we need to think about technology in marketing. How can we be the most human company? How can we be the most human hospital, the most human university, the most human podcast? How can we do that? And that's who will win, because in our hearts, this is what every single person wants. We need community. We need communion. Excuse me. Oh, my thing just. See how excited? Even my technology is falling apart. It's
Absolutely.
saying, Mark, you're right. It's collapsing in front of me.
Absolutely.
Because even my technology knows I'm correct. So, I mean, we have to look at our companies and think about, what are we doing that people hate? And we need to stop that. And we need to look for ways. How can we connect in truly human and authentic ways? And we need to double down on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, please, those who are watching us, let us know. Come up with questions, please, your comments, so we can make the conversation more worldwide. because one of the things I think, Mark, is that sometimes marketers are not aware of this very important thing. These platforms are on which they are, and they think, okay, let's do these automations of funnels and these and the lead and capture and the lead whatever. And the big problem is that people, our customers, are also aware of this. So I know that if I hit that button on the social Facebook, for instance, social ad, I know that for 2 weeks this ad will be following me, and I don't want that.
Right.
I think I think one of the biggest problems, and I want to share your thoughts on this. Uh, marked Some marketers forgot that people are not stupid, and they are also on that platforms, and they learn also. Don't you think?
Yeah, and I think you bring up a wonderful point here, Marco, because this example that you give about, all you do is click on an ad. That doesn't mean that you want to be a lead. That doesn't mean you want to be harassed. And if you think about some of the steps that Apple is taking to improve privacy on their platform, and look, all the businesses are saying, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're not going to be able to collect this information. Well, the reason that Apple's doing this is not to hurt us. It's not to penalize businesses. They're doing it because this is what human beings want them to do. They don't want to be harassed. They're sick of being advertised to. They want to protect their privacy. And I talk about this in the Marketing Rebellion book. We are in the third rebellion, that every time marketing and advertising professionals have taken advantage of people and abused people, the consumers rebel. They fight back and they win. Every time they win. And the customers have said, stop abusing me, respect my life, respect my time, respect my privacy. Apple is listening. So we've got to get ahead of this. What the consumers want, they're going to win. The moves by Apple and others show this is true. We've got to think about marketing in another way. And that's what the Marketing Rebellion is about. It's a book of hope. It's a book of exciting innovation and ideas. There's an inspiration and a new idea on every single page of that book to lay out a platform to say, look, all this stuff is going away. Traditional advertising is going away. You can't try to show people more ads if they don't want more ads. They're going to win eventually. How do we connect to them on their terms? And that's what I challenge people to do in this book.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Erica, he's saying tech uses dopamine as a drug to propel their message. it's very true. I got scared when I watched that Netflix documentary about social media dilemma. It was a little spooky, yes. And I think again, it takes us back to what I mentioned, because people are aware about how brands are using our data, and sometimes some people say, "Oh, do you think that Facebook it's important for Facebook to know about you because you're so insignificant?" Maybe it don't, but we like to have our kind of corner where our secret place, private place. And if we don't feel that that privacy it's being acknowledged and it's being secure, we will leave. For instance, WhatsApp had this situation. They were changing the private policy, and so many people moved to Telegram. I think it's important to think about this. So we have also a question from Dion.
Yeah.
Have you got your next big idea ready yet?
Well, that's a big question. I've got a sort of a germ of an idea, and I usually ignore those for a while. I have a list of probably 25 different book ideas that I've never done anything with. And the reason is because when you write a book, it's the biggest risk you can take as a personal brand. If you post something on social media that's awkward or embarrassing, you can take it down. Most people won't see it. You can take it back. But when you put a book into the world, it's part of your legacy. It becomes part of your history. You can't say, whoops, didn't mean that. And, I'm waiting for the day. It's never happened yet. I've written 9 books over, 12 or 13 years. And I'm waiting for that review, Marco, that says, oh, Mark, he's such a good writer. He's such a nice guy. But the big dummy forgot this in his latest book. And it hasn't happened yet. And that's why I put so much pressure to create a book that's bold and beautiful. And there's only one thing ever in my mind when I create a blog post, a podcast episode, or a book. I will never let you down. If you consume my content, it's going to be relevant, interesting, timely, maybe even entertaining. Maybe I'll even make you laugh a little bit. But I will never let you down. It will be worth your time. Maybe you won't agree with me, but I'll make you think. It'll be worth your time. And so that's why these ideas I have, I don't act on them because it has got to be big. It's got to be bold. It's got to be something that I can turn into something beautiful that will never let my audience down. And not every idea fits that. Not every idea, fits that seam, to use the cumulative advantage terminology. But I think the trajectory of my life, my professional career, has been about helping people stand out. That's what I wrote Return on Influence about. That's what I wrote Content Code about. That's what I wrote Known, Marketing Rebellion, Cumulative Advantage. So it'll probably, my next idea, my next book will probably be something about that theme. But I don't know if I'll have another book because it's gotta be the huge idea.
Yeah, because hello, Larry. Larry talks about something that it's also important, which is some books are forgotten, and
that's because most books today are blog posts. It's so frustrating to spend money on a book. You get the main idea, and then there's 250 pages of fluff, and it just drives me crazy that people get away with that. And the thing that I will guarantee you is that when you read a book by Mark Schaefer, you will never be disappointed. There is no fluff. I don't even put testimonies and blurbs. You know how everybody says, oh, this is the greatest book I've ever read. Usually, fun fact, the authors write those things themselves and send it to the things. And it's just like, look, my view is you've already bought this book. You don't need me to. I'm not going to waste your time and space with more blurbs. Maybe that sounds weird, but let's just get to the point and get going here and create some value together. And I think that's Larry, that's a great comment. It's my frustration too, Larry, that most books, they're not just forgotten, they're forgettable because they're people don't put the work into it. They should be blog posts.
Absolutely. And we have a question here from Antonio. Obrigado, Antonio. Dear Mark, funnels often forget that behind the computer is a person with their uniqueness. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, one of the provocative ideas, and believe me, this is a very disturbing idea for me too. But in the Marketing Rebellion, I talk about loads and loads of research, including white papers from Google that say that the customer journey, the sales funnel really isn't influenced by companies anymore. The customer is the marketer. The customer is in charge. People, the impact of marketing, because we've lost our way. We're spending most of our money on technology instead of human connection. So people don't listen to us. They know that we're spamming them in one way or another. And, we have reduced people to algorithms. We've reduced them even to personas, which, there's some place for personas, but I think personas are sort of way overstated as well. And we need to stop hiding behind technology, stop hiding behind our dashboards, and really dig deeper and find ways to connect in a human way. I just finished a podcast episode this morning, the Marketing Companion that I do with my friend Brooke Sellis. And I started the show by talking about the crisis that we're having in Texas right now. This is a state in America that usually has very mild weather. It's probably not unlike Portugal in a lot of ways, Marco. Well, we're having record cold temperatures, like the lowest temperatures ever recorded, ice storms and snow. And the people just aren't prepared, and they lost power for days, and they're freezing in their homes. And there was a story about a man who owned a furniture store that had heat. So he opened up his furniture store and he said, "Come stay here, sleep on my beds, warm yourselves. I'll bring in food." He set up a play area for children. He was having thousands of people come to warm themselves. 500 people a night sleeping on mattresses that he's supposed to be selling, right? Now, why is that marketing? Because marketing is great branding, is creating an emotional connection between what you do and your customers, your fans, and your audience. And today, with all the suffering in this world, pandemic, unemployment, economic problems, we have 20 million unemployed people in America. We have people who can't pay their mortgages. Now we've got this ice storm. People are dying. We need to take some of our marketing budget and help people. What can we do? What can we offer? Now, how did I know about this furniture guy in Texas? How would I know about that? Because this story was on the front page of the New York Times. Because today, when you are the most human company, you just don't create an emotional connection. You become legendary. And this is an opportunity for all of us to become legendary. My favorite quote, one of my favorite quotes in the Marketing Rebellion book is, today, a business cannot be in a community. A business must be of a community. That's what this furniture company did. Being in a community is giving a donation to the local football team. That's being in a community. It's giving a donation to some charity, right? Being of a community is rolling up your sleeves and showing up in a way that's human, that's like a friend. What would your friend do in a crisis? They would open their home and say, "Sleep here."
Absolutely.
That is marketing today. The most human company wins.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we have here Dion, that top earning YouTuber who gives away all of his products.
Right. I think she might be talking about Mr. Beast. Yeah, he gives away money. He gave away an island. He literally bought an island and gave it away. Yeah. Yeah. And if you're talking about Mr. Beast, Dion, I mean, he's not just a very successful and wealthy YouTuber. He's a philanthropist, right? He's doing social good in this world. And you've got to just understand, you've got to break through this mindset that marketing is about manipulating people. It's about selling and manipulating and algorithms and tricking people to click on links. Look, you can be a beacon. The marketers, we're the creators. We're the creators. We are the face of our company, or we create this face of our company. We can be a light. We can be a beacon. We could be something more than tricking people to click on links. We need to connect. We need to really just shatter what marketing has been about and rethink, reimagine what we're doing here. The most human company wins. You need to paste that all over your company. Put it right above your computer. And you need to think about everything you do, every email, every piece of content, every tweet, every phone call, every customer problem, every meeting. How do we show our face? How do we show our heart, our passion? How can we be more human? That's how you're going to win in this new world.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it was about 5 years ago. I stated that when the world gets more digitalized every day, the capability of a company to stay human will make them succeed. I thought that this 5 years ago, today even more, because as you said, and I think, and this can lead you, can kind of wrap and get us back to cumulative advantage. I think one of the problems about market, I think it's kind of a human being problem, but this applies. It's even more easy to tell on marketers, is a kind of a ego thing, because we like to sell more. We like to be known as successful people. And again, we get back to this analytic thing. Oh, you should measure, you should analytic and everything, and the clicks and CTRs and whatever. And then we show up, look my numbers, look how amazing I am. And I think it's kind of the same when we are talking about our succeed. No, it was not lucky. It was a strategy. I had all planned. Don't you think we should change this kind of approach to things?
Yeah. Well, I've been really enjoying Clubhouse lately, and your comment, your question, Marco, brings up a couple ideas. One of the Clubhouse sessions I listened to, it was a lot of these I listen to different marketing people, and there's a lot of marketing people on Clubhouse, so you can always find people talking. And this was this group, and I won't say the names, but they're people who I don't really respect very much, and they're talking about all these click funnels, lead nurturing, and all these tricky things that you can do, and these aggressive things. And I'm just thinking, I am going to be sick. I am going to be sick, because we have hundreds and hundreds of people listening to these goons talking about ways, ultimately, that you are abusing fellow human beings. And maybe you'll get a short-term gain, but you're not going to win in the end. Then I listened to another show, and Barbara Corcoran was on there from Shark Tank, the Shark Tank show. That's a very famous show here in America. And Barbara Corcoran became successful in real estate in New York City. She grew up very poor, and she said she didn't use the word cumulative advantage. She didn't know about my book, but here's what she said. The question was, would you rather be hardworking or lucky? She said, there's always luck. There's always luck. There's always some initial advantage. She said, here was my initial advantage. I had parents who loved me. I grew up in a safe home. It was a modest home. We lived in a small home. We weren't rich. We didn't have a lot of advantages, but I knew I was valued. I knew I had worth. I knew I was loved. And that gave me the confidence to go out and do things. I knew I was loved. I knew I had worth, no matter what happened in this world. I expected good things to happen because I had worth. That was my initial advantage. I think that's a beautiful thing to think about, because initial advantage, it doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be, learning computers early or something like that. It can just be growing up in a safe place. One of the statistics I have in my book, I'm not sure I'll get the numbers exactly right, but they showed that children who grew up in a home of disadvantage, where they didn't get enough food, where they weren't loved, where they didn't get enough sleep, when they were adopted into a nurturing home, their IQ, when I think the number was like something like, it went from 71 to 92, just being in a safe home. The number one predictor of IQ was being in a nurturing environment at home. That can be initial advantage. That can also be a source of initial disadvantage that we've got to solve in this world. So, see, I got on the soapbox here. Can't even remember what the first question was, which is often the case. But anyway, so this gets back. Yeah, the question was about algorithms and forgetting about people.
Yeah.
And that's really what my point here is in these two examples, where you can have these people that say, oh, yes, buy my workshop because I'm so smart and I'm going to teach you how to cheat people and abuse people. You'll make some money, but you got to be willing to know you're hurting, you're abusing people in some way. Or you can be like Barbara, who says, look, I know that I started with luck, and that's what built this. You can start with humility. You can recognize that I'm a human being trying to help other human beings. And that's what I think the true call of marketing should be today.
Perfect. Well, we have a interesting question from Alberto. Let's bring it to the screen. Mark, it's a common question. Mark, do you have any live or professional advice for a younger version of Mark Schaefer?
Well, I would say, first of all, Alberto, thank you so much for listening today. But I don't want anybody to be a younger version.
It seems that Mark got a little bit frozen. I think it was a Texan wind that came. Let's see if he gets back. By the way, we are about to finish. If you want to kind of make a sentence to talk about this show, what would it be? What the biggest takeaway you got from this show, if you want to share with us? Okay, Mark got back.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there, but
maybe it was a frozen wind from Texas.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we're getting some of that here. But what I wanted to encourage Alberto and say, I don't want anybody to be a young Mark Schaefer. I want you to be the first awesome Alberto. Your advantage, your heart, your view, your tone is different than me. There's something unique about you that is amazing and wonderful. And as I do a lot of coaching with young people, or really anybody, to think about, how do you finish this sentence? Only I. What's unique about me? What's special about me? What's distinctive that I can bring to the world? And I've never, ever not been able to help people figure that out. And there's something special about you too. To stand out in this world today, we have to be original. And to be original, we have no choice but to add our story, add our personality to the narrative. It takes some courage. It takes some work. But that's how you'll stand out, by being the most amazing Alberto, not someone who's trying to be Mark.
Perfect. Well, Mark, we are almost finishing, but before you leave, I want you to left us the guest suggestions. So let's let's do it. Okay, there you go. So in this section, I ask my guests to leave us some suggestions, which are professional, which you think that would be good for us to follow. A book, and you can talk another one of yours. A habit you have, a tool, a movie, and a TV show. Let's start for the author.
I'm going to be the biggest disappointment of all here because you can either blog or watch TV. You probably can't do both. And I wrote a blog post once about how blogging makes you dumb because only 1% of the world are content creators. I blogged every week for 650 straight weeks and didn't miss. I've been podcasting for 9 years. I've written 9 books. That doesn't leave me a lot of time to watch TVs, movies, and other things. But I watched a series that I liked very much called Devs, Devs, sort of a mind-bending sci-fi thing. If you want cool people to follow, Dion Buckingham Brown has been on this show. I think Dion has been doing an amazing job building out her business, building out her personal brand. And I really, she's used a lot of the ideas from Known, the personal branding book I wrote, very, very effectively. And May King has been on here. May King is working so hard. She's found a seam, and watch May King. She's going to explode in this world. Brooke Sellis, my co-host on the Marketing Companion. She is an incredibly inspirational person who's reimagining both digital advertising and customer care. Martin Lindstrom is someone who I really admire. He has a new book out called The Ministry of Common Sense. It's a hilarious book, by the way, as well as interesting. And Martin is a true visionary.
Absolutely.
And he's usually right. So Martin is someone that I follow very closely. So those are a few ideas off the top of my head.
Well, just to finish, a habit you want to share and a tool.
A habit?
Yes.
Well, no question in my mind is discipline. It's the big problem that we go down a rabbit hole because we're interested in something or something seems fun to us, and all of a sudden we look at the day and it's gone. And there are 2 pains in life. You have the pain of discipline and the pain of disappointment. If you can bear the pain of discipline and do what you need to do every day, you'll never have the pain of disappointment because you'll know you've done everything. You've done everything you can. Maybe it won't work out, but you've done your best. So discipline certainly is, I just can't speak enough about it. And I see people too distracted. They try to be everywhere. They're not focused. And I just don't know how someone like that can succeed today. And a tool, I love Evernote. I mentioned it in this show. It's how I write my books. They've continued to improve that platform. So Evernote is something that's useful. I use it every day.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mark. Just now it's the end. Just let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, it's really easy to find me. Nobody can ever remember how to spell Schaefer, but you can remember businesses grow. If you can remember businesses grow, you can find everything about me. You can find my books, my podcast, my blogs, and lots of other interesting free stuff about me and what I do.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Mark. It was an amazing conversation. Thank you. It was a pleasure. As I said before, if someone told me 1 year before this show that I will have Mark Schaefer, I say, okay, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, see, you're becoming known. because
Yes.
you're creating consistent content and you have discipline, and you can see it's building and it's working for you. So congratulations, and thank you for having me, Marco, and thank you for being so well prepared and for promoting the show and supporting me. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. And by the way, if when you release the next book, just knock on my door and I'll be here for you.
Okay. I'll bet you'll know about it. I'll bet you'll hear about it.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much for all of you who were watching the show and interacting with us. It was so good to have all of you here. If you are watching the replay and you have any question, please drop it on comments so I can answer or Mark. And by the way, don't forget to hit that links to know a little bit more about Mark's books, because they worth a lot to read. Okay, I'm saying because I read them. So bye. Have a nice week. We will see. By the way, tomorrow we will have here another amazing lady from Kenya, Janet Machuka, which is an amazing lady, and she will be sharing here how we can engage, how we can create value by collaboration, by networking on Africa and everywhere. So see you tomorrow. Bye.